pretty ready to go.
Awesome. Are
Yeah,
you ready, Evan?
just
Yep.
What? All right. Anyway, here we go. Welcome to episode number 46 of the Castbar. News is absolutely inexistent this week, so we'll be skipping straight past that section of today. We have two top Reddit posts that have caught our attention this week, as well as a closer look at vendor trash. Yeah, we're kind of reaching here. Thank you and enjoy. Welcome, everybody, to the Castbar, the World of Warcraft podcast, channeling your content with no interrupts. Today is Sunday, September 27th at exactly 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I am your host, Michael Schwan, and with me, thankfully, I have Evan.
Hello.
And also, thankfully, I have Florian.
what's up, guys?
It's going well. Last week we were lacking Florian, and this week we thought we were going to be lacking Evan, and it turned out to not be the case. So, woohoo!
Yeah, I know, right? Well, I'm glad to be here.
Are you feeling a little bit better?
Much better than I thought I was gonna feel.
Good. So, what have you guys been up to? What have you been up to this week, Evan?
Just working actually. The weather's finally perfect over here, so it's really just delightful being outside and playing some video games in the evenings as per usual. Still stuck on Heroes of the Storm. I bought Rexar. He's interesting.
Gold or cash?
Gold. I don't spend cash in this game unless there's a really sweet skin. Like I got the Asmodan Gul'dan crossover skin. That's WoW relevant, right? It turns all of your little demons into orcs. I think it's fun.
And what about you, Florian? What have you been up to? I know you just got moved. Has your entire week just been trying to probably get into an actual place instead of a room full of beds and the like?
That has been most of it. Has been just getting moved in and get everything across the ocean and to where I need it to be. Once I got that done, though, things have been pretty chill since then. Just been trying to get used to the place and learn my way around, that kind of thing. Not been gaming much, unfortunately.
It's real unfortunate since you are the fellow Diablo player in this little trio of ours. There is an event going on this weekend. Incidentally, I'm full disclosure right now. I am going to be playing Diablo this entire episode, and I will be using the magic of Adobe Audition to edit out the clicks, hopefully. Because this weekend, the bounties, and by the time the listeners hear this, it'll be over, unfortunately. But you know, the bounties, Florin, give you those Heraldric caches that have like blood shards and some legendaries and the new mats in them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the bonus ones already give you an extra little one, right? The bonus bounty for each zone. Mm-hmm. Well, this weekend only, and it's only for Saturday and Sunday. Every time you do a bounty, you get an extra cache. And if you do the bonus bounty to where you get 2 extra caches, you get 2 extra caches on top of that. So every bounty gives you 4 caches right now.
Oh, that's real nice.
It's ridiculous. Nobody is doing anything but bounties, because good lord.
Yeah,
Diablo has been my weekend and my life.
That sounds really like something that you're really enjoying.
Are you able to hear the clicks real well?
No, I don't hear anything.
Oh, actually. Good. That's wonderful. That's great news. So Florian, what is it looking like in terms of for you in terms of actually finally getting a life again?
It's going to happen very soon. Once I'm finished with all my getting set up and getting moved in and all that, I think I'll be back to normal in maybe a week or so.
That's cool.
And after that, it'll be business as usual.
And you're going to be in Hawaii for like 3 years?
At least.
Oh, you're a poor soul.
Yeah, I know. I'm so sad about having to live in this terrible tropical paradise. I'm literally crying myself to sleep every night.
Oh, I would be. While sipping on
Somebody's
margaritas on the beach when it's 70 degrees.
Just- Somebody's got to watch the volcanoes and make sure the Thetans don't get out.
Exactly. That's my duty to the human race. At least that's how I justify it. Make myself feel better about things.
I'm sure you just feel terrible. You're making such a sacrifice.
So,
Uh,
Michael, when you say that there isn't any news today, are you skipping over this big long MMO champ post on the front page, plastered all over the front page, nothing except this huge armory stats series concerning battle pets and achievements?
Yes, I am absolutely skipping over that because I almost fell asleep reading that. I'm also
Uh,
skipping over the somebody who made a Game of Thrones style intro for World of Warcraft because
yeah,
that
I was
that
like, I've never seen Game of Thrones once, never seen the intro once. If I watched that, I would be like, oh, so that's somewhat what like the Game of Thrones intro looks like.
yeah, it was
You
the
can't
same
really
for me.
appreciate
I
it,
watched
but
it and I
that's
was
true.
like, well, that was kind of neat. And then they're like, this is a Game of Thrones intro. I was like, I guess the Game of Thrones intro has castles lifting up out of the ground.
Um,
Okay.
but I mean, no, I'm looking at these armory stats. Two things I want to mention right here. There are stats in the armory of the percentage of players that can elected unique pets. So we all have a number of unique pets associated with our account. The bar for players that have one unique pet is right up there at 100%, but it isn't touching 100%. There's only 99.98% of players that have collected a pet. That 0.02% have never gotten a pet. How is this possible?
Um, I don't know. I mean, nothing forces you to get a pet, and um, like
it could
nothing
be.
outright gives you a pet, right? Not that I can think of.
The only things that outright give you a pet is if you have like a special pet, like for like a collector's edition or like the Blizzard anniversary pet or something like that. If you haven't been around long enough to get one of those, then unless you've specifically sought out a pet, I see no reason why someone would have one.
There are quests that give pets as rewards. Sometimes it's the only reward, so you have to accept the pet, and it isn't the item that you can then throw away if you don't want it. I think it automatically learns the pet for you. I'm not positive. Maybe it does give you the item. You have to right-click in your inventory in order to learn the pet. But uh, I'm thinking, yeah, young accounts. I think if you have the anniversary kind of achievements, then you get a pet mailed to you. And then once you right click on a pet, if you don't have 3 copies of that same pet, the item disappears. So it's like one less click than throwing it in the garbage. So yeah, I guess that would kind of explain it. On the other side of that, 2.78%, the highest echelon of pet collectors. Florian, I know you probably haven't looked at these stats. How many pets do you think the top 2% of players have?
I'm gonna say at least 100,
Oh no,
maybe
there's
more.
more than that, Florian.
600 pets.
I
The top
thought we were
2% have
approaching
So there
700.
were 600 pets.
600.
If you'd asked me how many were in the game, I'd say maybe 200 tops.
No, it's like 680 or something. Evan, does it have the number there?
It doesn't have the full number at the part I'm looking for. No, 20% of the WoW population has 250 unique pets. That's a fifth. 1 out of every 5 players has 250 or more pets, which I think is just it's kind of like an eye opener. Yeah, I guess if you're running around the world, you see how many unique pets there are out in at the game, the zones. But man, 680. You're saying, Michael? That's pretty impressive.
Well, I don't know the exact number, but I have a friend who is obsessed with the battle pets, and she at the end of Miss Pandaria had them all, besides like the early BlizzCon pets, which she was very upset that she couldn't get. And she was sitting on 612 unique pets at the time, and I'm not sure how many Warlords of Draenor added. I'm sure it added a decent number. So whatever that number is now, I don't know.
Very eye-opening. So yeah, a little newsworthy, just because Lauren guessed there might have been 100, at least 100 pets, right?
Well,
That's funny.
there's a problem with that. logic, I guess, is that the thing is though is that, and I've seen pictures and posts and stuff about it of people going, this doesn't really Blizzard, because those unique, quote unquote unique pets. So like there are, I think that there's like 12 battle pets that all use the exact same size, shape, and color rat model. They're just named differently. They even have the same abilities. They're just different named rats from different zones, I guess. And they all technically count as a unique one, but they all are exactly the same.
Yeah, so there's a lot of rehashing. If you ever go for the Mountain to Mounds achievements, that kind of thing, you're going to notice that you're buying 6 or 7 copies of basically the same mount, especially from the reputations. I think we talked about that week before last. So yeah, a lot of rehashing. 600 pets, is this necessary in the game? Let's not get into that. But it's just kind of a fun number just to increase your general awareness about the WoW community. Yeah, there are a lot of pets out there. You can spend probably a long time collecting them all.
All of your time, really. I mean, ugh. I mean, and there's pets now that you can try to get in certain places, like the Guardian Cub. You can't actually get from the store anymore, but people stockpiled them and bought a whole bunch of them way back when, and now they can sell them on the auction house. And I think they sell for not too much, but some gold. So yeah, I mean, take your pick your poison.
The only other fun fact I have about pets is that if you make a Worgen character and go through the starting zone, you're given a Gilnean Raven, I believe, and this
You
is
are
the
not
only.
given
You're not
one.
given it. You have the opportunity
Yeah,
to collect one.
you're the only race that can buy them, and you're only allowed to buy one, and that's why they're expensive.
Gotcha. So yeah, you if you want to make a little bit of gold, create a Worgen character, get that Gilnean Raven. The only way you can do it is by having a new Worgen character. And then once you get rid of it, you can never get one again unless you buy one on the auction house. So very kind of exclusive.
And it's one of the best pets in the game.
Is it? So yeah, there we go. There's our news discussion.
Oh boy. Well, I'm going to play the news bumper anyway for our Reddit post, since I still haven't quite figured out how to make the bumper that I want. So here we go. Welcome, everybody. This is not the news, as you might suspect with that sound. In fact, it is instead going to be the Reddit post of the week. And we have 2 of them this week. One because I thought it was funny and it actually had a little bit of, it had a point behind it. And the other one that is just something I think we might have talked about in the past, but I don't remember. So the first one is real short, and it was intended to be a joke. And it said, how many WoW players does it take to change a light bulb? Evan?
2. One to change the light bulb, the other one to complain about how it was a lot better the way it was before.
Yeah, essentially because things constantly get changed in Warcraft, and it makes everyone upset because of reasons that make no sense, really. So I brought this one up because one, it was one of the top Reddit posts on the WoW subreddit, and 2, it brings a good point to our faces, I guess, is the best terminology for it. And that, and we mentioned before that WoW players are never happy, and they also often say something along the lines of, man, everything in the past was better. This would have been so much better, blah, 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 blah. I remember the good days in vanilla. And I can remember back to, the furthest back that I played, which was Wrath of the Lich King. And WoW now, while it does have a lot of problems, there were some things in Wrath of the Lich King that were beneficial. I don't feel like the past had anything over the present. Is it just one of those kind of like grass is always greener on the other side type effects?
I think it's a lot of nostalgia. I mean, simply because, I tried playing on a vanilla private server because, I played a little bit of vanilla, but I didn't get to the end game. so I never got to all the magical stuff that all the players claimed was there. I tried it on a private server. It turns out vanilla was a terribly inconvenient time when the UI was terrible and the gameplay was poorly designed, and people are just remembering it with nostalgia goggles, you know? It feels really great to them to think about vanilla the way it was back then, because back then they had a lot of great experiences. But I'm pretty sure if they brought it back now, it would be pretty terrible, and no one would like it. So I think that's kind of just a thing in the WoW community and in MMO communities in general. I've never been in an MMO community where at least someone didn't complain about how things used to be better before the expansion.
Yeah, I think Blizzard always does some experiments every time they release a new expansion. Uh, the best version of this game is probably a version where some experiments had never occurred and other ones had. So you can piece together a patchwork version of the game, just going through history and selecting all the best parts and assemble a game that in theory would kind of be good. Um, but I think Florian's right in that mostly our kind of what we're looking for changes as we've gotten older. I mean, a lot of us who were playing this game for 10, 8, 9, 10 years, we're 8, 9, 10 years older now, and what we want out of a game is a little bit different. So I can't imagine that we'd be satisfied with WoW and Vanilla or TBC if they kind of served it up for us to do in this age.
So, like, I mean, I can think of things that I've liked from old expansions. I can think of things that I even like from this expansion. So what you're saying, Evan, with that is that if we were able to take certain things from this and certain things from that, that it might make the game better. But it's, I mean, obviously you can't, reverse time.
Yeah, you can't put the cat back in the bag.
Well, if you try really hard, the cat might go back in the bag, but
It would ruin the bag first, clearly.
clearly, obviously.
It's been in the bag. It knows what the bag's like.
That's one of those proverbs that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But regardless, so I mean, because like one of the things that I mention very heavily in our review section from time to time is how much I enjoyed Cataclysm's heroic dungeons. And I just don't feel like I get the same enjoyment out of the dungeons now. And I don't think it's because the dungeons are bad. And maybe the dungeons, if they just straight up like made the difficulty level the same as the heroic dungeons were, maybe I wouldn't like them as much. Hard to say because, well, there's a lot of time that's passed. But I mean, that is something that I guess I could say I'm nostalgic for, is the dungeons and the difficulty from Cataclysm. What about you, Florin? Is there anything that you're just like, man, that was way better during X?
Only the social experience, but that's not really a gameplay thing so much as it is a product of the community.
Good point. The
At
thing I
least,
am nostalgic for. Oh yeah, go for it. Sorry.
oh no, go ahead.
I would probably want to see the clock turn back on professions from Vanilla and TBC back when you had to go and collect items from different monsters, like the elementals dropped their elemental water and life and stuff like that. And you kind of had to go out and farm all these kind of difficult to obtain materials rather than wait on time gating.
Is that the biggest problem with Warlords of Draenor? Is it really at its root is the garrisons and how they oversimplified professions and gear and just everything? Is that really just kind of the root of all evils here?
That's
I don't
a
think
really
it was a
good synopsis, honestly. Oversimplification was one of the downfalls, I think, of professions and garrisons here. Even though it was an engaging system to begin with, it did not have very much depth.
I think that's a pretty apt description for Warlords of Draenor in general. It was pretty nice to begin with, but it did not have much depth. The lack of staying power in general was the major problem. And the professions are perfectly encapsulate that.
Yep. Maybe there was kind of a widespread simplification effort going on throughout all the game systems in general. They wanted to kind of make everything kind of relevant to everything else, as far as garrisons being relevant to raiding and to PvP. They'd have to make raiding and PvP kind of similar to one another, so they both fit into that kind of box.
Well, Well,
and
one
then
of the things
professions
that
they had
Blizzard has
to tie it in too.
one of the things that Blizzard has said, and it honestly is from a business standpoint, from the businesses that I've worked in and stuff like that, it's a very valid excuse, is that they've had a ridiculous amount of business internal changes and turnover, and just the amount of people that they've hired on in the recent times makes a humongous difference in effective, what is the word I'm looking for, like actually effectively accomplishing content is very difficult when you are losing these guys and bringing in these guys, and they doubled the size of the team. And while we will probably get to see the effects of that going forward after Legion starts, I think is when we'll actually start to see the benefit of all those people. But all of those people being added to the team, while it will bolster Blizzard in the future, it kind of neutered them when it came to trying to do anything with Warlords of Draenor.
Yeah, I want to clarify one point. That they do, or some Blizzard developer was quoted as saying that yeah, there's a lot of new people on our teams and everything, but as far as turnover, even between departments, Blizzard is very low on the scale relative to other software companies. Very few people relative to the industry standards are leaving. Very few people are even moving around between departments. So them like losing focus because the kind of anchors of one kind of style of development leaving the team isn't exactly as accurate. I think all the changes Blizzard's been going through is from one kind of epoch to the next has been the same people kind of being in charge. When somebody does leave, like Ghost Crawler, that's a big deal. I don't think it happens all that often though.
Well, what I mean though is like, so even if they're not losing people, they're adding people, right? So, like, let's say there is two guys that it is their job and only their job to do like the terrain textures around Warcraft, right? Well, now, like, let's say part of adding all those people added two more people to that department. So now instead of two people working on the terrain textures, you now have four. You now have a very awkward time of rebalancing workload, because these guys had this set rhythm and this set way that they were used to doing everything, and now they have, and it's not a bad thing, but now they have to figure out how that's all going to work with two extra people working alongside them. And maybe this guy does things completely different than the rest of them, and they have to figure out how to get all on the same page. And that can happen in every section of the game, especially when you are expanding as much as they did. It's not like they just added 5 people. They added like 200.
Yeah, I didn't actually know the number. Is it 200?
I think it's more than that, because the World of Warcraft team, by my understanding, is the largest team of designers that is focused on a single video game. Because, I mean, Blizzard as a whole has a ton of, video game designers and programmers and stuff like that, but they're spread across multiple games. And you could say the same about like EA or Nintendo. Sure, they're, one of them might be the biggest, but they have these guys working on the next Mario game, these guys working on the next Link game, etc. Whereas the World of Warcraft team, which I don't remember what number Warcraft is, because they have team numbers. I don't know which one Warcraft is. I know Team 5 is Hearthstone. Team 1 is StarCraft. So I don't know. Anyway, they are, by my understanding, the largest team, and I think they have something along the lines of like 1,600 people that work on World of Warcraft at this point. And I think they might have went up 400, because I remember the number being somewhere around 1,200 before they added on all these people. So trying to integrate 400 people into a process that have, their own style, their own design, their own process for how they're going to make things and how they program and all of that, and trying to get them to understand and mesh with those 1,200 that have been cemented there for the last, X amount of years, can be extremely difficult. I mean, my office that I work in, I work for the state of Alaska. We are a very small office. Like, if we had every position filled, we would have, I think, 12 people in my entire office. We have incidentally never had every position filled because working for the state means no one wants a job. That's an entirely different topic, though. But we had a single person be added to my office. And it was to work alongside me in all the tasks that I do. I'm a law office assistant,
Right.
so I'm a glorified secretary, and that was so disheveling and put the entire office on tilt because she did things completely differently from the way I do. And while it wasn't bad, they were used to the way I did things. And when she would do something that wasn't my way, which, whatever, you do things your way, but it really kind of like, why is this way? Well, because that's the way I
Yeah.
did it. Well,
I
why?
can imagine doing the same kind of chaos happening if I added, 12 people to our company. That would that would take some time to get things kind of settled. It'd be a lot of going slow and making sure everybody's initiated well. So yeah, I mean, I can understand. I think we're definitely put a halt on things. But yeah, I mean, so what's the deal? We're still talking about
We're still talking about the
glasses
Reddit
here.
post of people like old stuff because tangents. I really think, though, that just a final statement on the increase of employees there at Blizzard, I really think we'll get to see the fruits of that going forward from Legion. I think at that point they will have settled in. They'll start to understand how to work with one another and not, be all grumpy and stuff. And we'll actually start to see the results of what they want. That we'll start to see that, expansion every year, faster patches, more content, cleaner everything. I was going to say cleaner patches, but I have a feeling that just everything will be cleaner. Just because they'll have a trained and equipped staff that is fully capable of handling that type of load. Anyway, let's go on to the next post. The next Reddit post, and I'm not sure if I'm going to read this whole thing, but it is something that we have talked about. I think we've talked about this in the past. It is about the idea of an offline mode for Battle.net. Battle.net is I guess we've kind of dubbed it like the social communicator for all Blizzard games. And now all of our games are launched through the Blizzard, through Battle.net, and it's also where all your friends list and stuff goes through. One thing that was requested since Battle.net started was the option to appear offline. Sometimes you just want to play Diablo, and you don't want friends going, hey, can I join you? Or, hey, you want to jump in this raid? Or, blah, 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 blah. You just kind of really want to just, chill out, maybe run some... maybe just do some low level questing or, catch up on some, what is that? Some lore master achievement or something like that. You just want to just hang out and enjoy some video games by yourself, but there is no option in Battle.net to say, not you, like, leave me alone. I'm not here.
Right. No, I understand. I mean, the first thing that I want to say about this is that why do you have people on your friends list who bug you and don't leave you alone when you want to be left alone? The second thing I want to say is this feature is only useful to people who have told their girlfriend that they're not going to be playing World of Warcraft, and yet they are.
Shh. What? Don't let her know.
Yeah. Maybe no, that's a little harsh though. What are you thinking, Florian?
I think it's a necessary feature, simply because sometimes you have people. For example, I had an issue years ago where I had a guy on my friends list. He was an alright friendly guy, but the problem was he always wanted to play with someone, even when I wanted to be left alone, and he had very few friends. So he was often hitting me up when I just wanted to be left alone and wouldn't let it go. But I didn't want to be a rude guy and deprive him of one of his very few friends. So an appear offline option would have made that situation a lot less awkward. So in that case, I kind of wanted one. And I can see other situations where people might need one and it's a legitimate thing. If that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. I mean, and everyone has their reasons for wanting to appear offline, right? I mean, Whether in Evan's example, it's hiding from your girlfriend. I mean, and sometimes, I mean, there are different types of people in every walks of life. I mean, I'm sure at this point, everyone's heard of the difference between extroverts and introverts. And, you know, everyone has their own personalities and stuff. And sometimes it's not about that your friends annoy you or anything like that. Sometimes it's just, I don't want to talk to anybody right now. I don't want to be bothered. I just want to just do my thing, you know, run some rifts or, you know, do some custom matches in StarCraft against some computers or whatever, and just not worry about anything that anyone else is doing.
So where's that, Liz?
Well, 3 years ago, they said, Blizzard, they said that they're working on the appear offline feature for Battle.net. And since they said we're working on it, like they're on the process of implementing it, we have not seen or heard anything of it since then. That was the last we heard about it. Was when they said, yeah, we can do that. We'll start working on putting it in now. And then it just never happened, and they just kind of swept that under the rug. Like, actually, you know, maybe no. Because reasons. I don't know. Okay, I am not a programmer, but does this sound to you guys like something that would be difficult to put in?
Seems like something they should have had built in from the start, but
like this,
I mean,
this of all things sounds simple to me. The only thing that I can think of that might complicate it, and maybe this is the problem of that Battle.net is its own separate client, and I imagine that it has a weird interface between all of the different games, because like the Battle.net in Warcraft and the Battle.net that are in Diablo are probably different in how they function and operate, so maybe that makes it difficult to make an appear offline function appear offline option function properly between the games. I mean, maybe they like said, oh yeah, we did it just now, and then like if you were in Warcraft and someone else was in Warcraft, they couldn't see you, but if you were in Warcraft and someone was in Diablo, then they could.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably where things get sticky.
Whether that's true or not, I have no idea, but I mean, I could see that easily being the case.
Yeah, so I'm gonna chalk it up to the 16 slot backpack argument.
Well, I mean, and maybe it's something. I mean, obviously, we can always hope and pray and stuff, but I mean, they continuously do more and more announcements that they've been trying harder and harder here and there to appease what people want, and we're approaching BlizzCon here in just a couple of months, so maybe we will finally, maybe it's something that they'll announce there.
Yeah, I'm liking that prediction. Also, since the launcher came out, there hasn't been any big sweeping changes to it, and maybe they'll be doing some kind of revamp or overhaul besides just small fixes and adding on Overwatch, you know, and then it'll be kind of a comprehensive.
Oh my god, I want to play Overwatch so bad. They put it in my launcher, and now every time I see it, I'm just like, does it have a play button yet? Why don't you have a play button? Can I play this yet? No?
It'd be funny if they just activated the play button without any kind of announcement whatsoever.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like, if just like one day you log in and then you're like, oh, I can install it now. That's cool.
Like one day when you log in, there's tons of social media posts saying Overwatch is playable.
Yeah, just wake up and you're like, oh, gotta call into work today.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
sorry, boss.
Really does feel sore.
I would just call my boss and be like, Murray, I can't. I just can't. I'm gonna be real honest with you. I am going to be at my computer playing video game. I'm not sick at all. I can't. As I'm already playing it, she's like on speakerphone as I'm glued to my controller. Like, I'm sorry. I can't do anything else. Kid's like, I'm hungry, and I'm like, that's unfortunate for you.
How many times have you seen me prepare dinner?
You know how to make a sandwich, don't you? There's no bread. Yeah, make some. We have a bread maker. I know Mom showed you how.
While we're on the topic, Florian, do you play games like Overwatch? Have you been looking at any of the champion or hero spotlights? Do you have any interest in playing this game, or just a mild interest, curiosity?
I'm pretty excited for Overwatch. I haven't been watching any videos though because I don't want to get spoiled on it. I want my first experience to be authentic with the game, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
I try to do that with most games. I don't watch too much upcoming footage. I obviously do for WoW, kind of because I have to for the show. But aside from that, I try to just get the purest experience possible, and that's what I plan to do for Overwatch. I'm pretty excited for it, but I'm maintaining cautious optimism.
Right on. Yeah, it can be torturous when you're really looking forward to a game, just to be voracious about consuming every piece of media that comes out about it. That's how Blizzard keeps people on the hook. But almost certainly they'll have an alpha, then they'll have a beta closed, and then maybe another buy-in. I don't know how successful their Heroes of the Storm beta buy-in was. I certainly bought the Founders Pack just to get in there and did not regret it one bit. The price was right, $30, no big deal. And if they do the same thing for Overwatch, I'll probably buy into it too. I was a big fan of Team Fortress 2, and this seems like a kind of a class-based adventure shooter kind of thing. So I think I'll really like it.
I would throw money at my whole wallet would probably just go through my monitor faster than I could even imagine. If they were like, just give us $20 and you can play Overwatch right now, and I'm like, I don't have, I will find you $20 right now. Here you go. It costs $20 an hour.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well, just
it's gonna happen anyway. I can apply for a new credit card, right?
Start robbing old ladies.
Straight up banks.
That would be dangerous and socially irresponsible of Blizzard to charge $20 per hour on Overwatch before it's released.
Into the mailbag. You can send your questions, suggestions, and or feedback to thecastbar@gmail.com. You can call and leave us a voicemail at 508-738-2278, or you can find us on Twitter at Castbar Podcast, or you can do all the words and stuff and things. You can also leave us questions, feedback, and otherwise on our website at www.thecastbar.com. They did not leave their name. They said, "Hey guys, is WoW becoming too large? Here we are on expansion 5, soon to be 6, and we know that there's more to come," because they said that, we have the next 7 expansions planned, or however many that they said that they want for 80 years of Warcraft. There are now so many zones, quests, and dungeons. In addition, there is so much extra in there between collecting transmogs, battle pets, and now all the garrison and follows and everything. Are we getting to a point where WoW is just getting too large? I think it's getting to a point personally where WoW is getting to a point where instead of wanting to do everything, you have to be selective about what you want to do. Because everything you are going to have to just devote your life to the greater evil that is Azeroth.
I can agree with that. I wouldn't say WoW is too large. I would say, if anything, a player who thinks WoW is too large is maybe a bit too motivated. Because you don't need to clear all the content. You don't need to go to all the zones. Just go do the stuff that interests you and have fun doing it. If you're going for 100% completion, that's a thing you can do, but that's not a thing you can do while having a life at the same time.
There is one player in the game that has done everything.
I'm sure there would be somebody, but if that's what he wants to do, I've got no problem with that. But
you can't get all the achievements with the realm first things.
Yes, you can. He has them all.
Yeah, but this is the guy who was buying people's accounts and having them merge into his Battle.net ID.
No. The guy that actually has all of them was the guy who was on a newer PvP server and had his guild transfer to that server, and then had the guild kill anyone who was beating him in terms of leveling.
Right, yeah, I remember that.
because that's some crazy dedication. Just camp them. I'm leveling. Camp the
Some
druid. I'm
crazy ass
leveling.
hattery.
Can you
But yeah,
imagine having a group that was so dedicated to this that they were killing everybody while you ground up to max level each class?
talk about some Charles Manson shit.
That is
Die-hard fan, loyal subjects. I don't know. There's a fine line there that's being towed.
that is not okay. I don't care who you are. You need to take a break, go take a nap. Maybe get acquainted with our friend the Sun. He is pretty important in our life and keeping us going. And I think that you need to give him a little visit.
Yep. So, yeah, I
I
like that
say as
perspective,
I
Warren.
drool over Diablo for like the 20th hour this weekend.
Good. Yeah, reading this mail and saying I really do think that they've just been slapping stuff on, just new stuff, new stuff, new stuff. All this feature, that feature, this thing to do, that thing to do. It's gotten too big to be kind of to have a good focus. If I want to enjoy PvE, there's only so much PvE I can enjoy before I have to start doing something else. It's like I would much rather have a game that was 100% focused on its PvE experience and didn't have these Pokemon or these battlegrounds.
So you're saying Blizzard is taking things too far then?
Yeah, but I like his perspective in that there's a lot to do. If you think it's too big, it might just be a little bit too unruly, or the introductory experience might be a little bit too messy. And that if you're a new player, especially, I don't know if our writer's a new player, you can get kind of lost in the details. Where you're being introduced to Battle Pets, you're being introduced to the talent system, to looking for Group Finder, battlegrounds, and it's just like you start playing the game, and if you really get into it, 6 hours later, you're level 20, 25, 30, and that's a whole lot of content. That's a whole lot of spells that you have to learn how to use and all this stuff, and it all kind of comes at you fast just because there's so much content and they have to introduce it to you as quickly as possible. And
Well, it kind of
yeah, it's
makes me
overwhelming.
wonder how many new players in World of Warcraft we have. Like how many are people like us that are, just still barnacles that are attached by the gills from the past, and how many actually like started with Warlords of Draenor? How many are new players? Because I remember they were talking something like that in the around Miss Pandaria days of trying to bring in new blood and what that would mean. How do we encourage this younger generation to play a game from the last generation, and is that even possible? So I mean, while they put in this new stuff, maybe that new stuff is directed towards trying to get new people, because I mean, you can't just rely on the remnants of the 14 million of the past, because some people, they die out on the game. They might die. I mean, humans are mortal. Took that in a very dark direction. They start leading a lifestyle that doesn't allow them to play Warcraft anymore. So I mean, there's a lot of things that could be in which to where, I mean, the numbers are going down, maybe not because the game is getting worse, but because no one new is coming in. Am I just delirious, or?
Yeah, I think so. No, as a veteran,
Yes, you were completely senile.
so I answer the question as a new player. Is it too big? Is there too much to even to get any traction at all and enjoying the game? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. As a mature player, is it too big? They keep on throwing expansions on. They do keep on speeding up the leveling process, which I think is considerate of them. I really like our discussion we had weeks and weeks ago about how they could redesign the leveling experience entirely to make the content rich and varied, but without being rushed. I think the only negative attribute that I can foresee getting worse in the future as more expansions come is the rushed feeling of the leveling experience. Yeah, I think it's just they want level 1 to max level to take about a constant amount of time. So 3 expansions from now, what's 1 to 60 going to be like? Is that going to be 5 or 6 hours? Is that going to be an 8-hour sesh just to get through the? I bet there are people who can do it in 8 hours, no problem, already.
No, actually, no. I mean, unless you do you can. No. Well, the
Unless
biggest.
you stack up those 300% XP pots from the rare spawn in Pandaria.
Well, I don't know how those stack with
My friend's got dozens of them. With the heirlooms, you mean, though?
not with the heirlooms, with what is the refer a friend bonus. That's what I'm trying to think of. I
Oh,
don't know
right.
how that stacks up with the refer a friend, with the refer a friend bonus, and because I had a friend that was wanting to get max level of all the classes, so he bought another set of Warcraft games, bought another account, and paid a friend of ours. He likes to throw his money away. Paid a friend of ours to play on that other account for the refer a friend bonus. And they were both he had full heirlooms and everything, and even with full heirlooms going as fast as they could with leveling guides and stuff like that to get up to max level, and max level was 90 at the time, not 100. It was taking 20 hours a character, and that's as fast as they could possibly manage / I could imagine.
Level 1 to level 90 or to
Yes.
level 100?
90.
Level 1 to 90, 20 per character.
20 hours. And that's at 300% speed from refer a friend, probably an extra like 60. But they didn't use the 300% potions, but I don't know if that stacks with refer a friend anyway.
Interesting. Yeah.
I have no
So
idea.
that's ludicrous.
But even so, as fast as they could, it was taking 20 hours to get to max level. And during during the end of Miss Pandaria, because of the boost and stuff, I got real excited and I was grinding characters up to boost them because I like to throw away my money. And it was taking me at minimum 24 hours to level a character up to level 60 with just heirlooms and going as fast as I could.
24 hours of playtime.
Yeah. Of actual game time in the game, hardcore, parkour, grinding away. And that was only to level 60, so I could do the boost. And most of those were tanks in dungeons. So, yeah.
I think what you're demonstrating there is a normal, well-adjusted resistance to long gaming marathons.
Well, the thing is, though, you were talking about they want a set distance between level 1 to max level, but I mean, I remember, the days of yore, back when I was a small wee lad, and our RPGs lasted 80 hours or more when I was grinding away on games like Final Fantasy VII or Xenosaga. The thing about that is that games nowadays, and even the people nowadays, it's a different gaming world altogether across the map. And so while people want faster satisfaction than they were happy with in the past, I mean, most of our games now, their average playtime, and some people, complain games are, getting shorter and blah, 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 blah. But that's a different topic. Most of our games now are much shorter compared to how they were in the past. And if it takes Warcraft, they say the Warcraft experience is in endgame. The enjoyable part of Warcraft you find at the end of the game. And if the end of the game where things are supposed to be enjoyable and you can actually accomplish something isn't for it's going to take me at 40, 50 hours, maybe more minimum to get there, then that's not good.
Yeah, I understand that too. This discussion is bringing up a point. Is the game too big? it's hard to call the game really big when I'm only gunning when I make a new character. I'm only gunning for that end game. I'm only gunning for that last bit of content, the relevant rating. It would so it seems big because while I'm leveling up a new character, it seems like I'm just trying to get through the garbage, which is the the non-relevant content, as fast as possible. So it kind of devalues that content, which is a shame because a lot of that really good content you were talking about heroic cataclysm dungeons earlier. If there was more of an incentive to do content along the way, the leveling experience would be more enjoyable. I, I and probably nobody else or fewer people would feel the need to rush through leveling content as fast as possible. So, yeah, I would say my final answer to this question is that I'm finding more and more reasons to believe the game isn't too big, like Florian's saying. But it's structured in a strange way. And as we always come back to talking about in this show, incentives for doing old world content are lacking. And I'd like to see changes to that before I see changes to the size of all the content put together.
I don't think I understand the change that you're explaining. Can you try it again for me?
Something we've said just to make leveling less of like a mindless grind where I'm doing 5-man dungeons on normal mode from 1 to 90. How about make it give me a reason to go kill Illidan while I'm in the Burning Crusade, you know. Give me a reason to go to Ice Crown when I'm in Northrend, and then experience that content, experience the raid. Because if I'm level 80, I might as well go into Ice Crown Citadel, but there's no good reason to, because I'll be 85 in the next, 4 or 5 hours, and I'll be 90 10 hours after that. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to get any weapons. I already have my heirlooms. I already know the story. There's no reason to, but I feel like ideally there kind of would be a reason to.
Sure. Okay, I understand. The and while that would be great if there was a way to make that content relevant, because there is a lot of content in World of Warcraft that has become irrelevant, that people only go do for nostalgia reasons, or maybe they're trying to get a pet, or trying to get a legendary to drop because they want it. I think what they need, and maybe this is too large of an undertaking for them to really worry about, because what Blizzard focuses on endgame and the leveling up experience for their current expansion. So they put their effort into, levels 100 to 110, and then the raids and stuff once after you've hit 110, and they don't really care about anything before that because they put their work into that already. So I think what would actually help a ton, both for myself, for new players, old players, is you were talking about like going into Black Temple and fighting Illidan. You can only, like, if you were in Burning Crusade at the time, the only way to do that is if you have like 10 other people. If they had a way to make me able to at level walk into a dungeon or a raid for that level, and this is only for old content, you don't do this for current content, by myself and go through and do it, I think, and have quests and quest lines or objectives or achievements or whatever that are tied to that, I think that would be a very good way to breathe life into earlier levels. Because right now their solution is just to boost you up to the maximum level for the last expansion. I mean, they're like, okay, well, you don't want to deal with leveling to catch up to where the game is. We'll just boost you level 90, and then we're going to do it again in Legion, and we'll boost you up to level 100.
Yeah, something like that. Wouldn't that be cool? You go through leveling content when you're tired of leveling. You're in Northrend. You're level 75. You say, okay, I'll finish Northrend. I'll get level 78. Then I'll get a group of players and spend 5 or 6 hours clearing Ice Crown Citadel. When I kill Arthas, I get teleported to Northrend, or the Warlord content. I get teleported to level 100. That'd be funny.
So, I don't know. Like, while that would be great, I just don't see Blizzard putting in the effort to make that happen.
No, yeah. We'll see.
Florian, me and Evan have been bouncing back and forth. I am reintroducing you into the fold. Where are you at on all of this? Is he still there?
Maybe
I'm
he's
still here.
Oh, okay. I was like, I can't see the call.
The, the problem isn't that there's too much content, or that there's sort of a problem that there's no incentive for doing old content, but that's an entirely different issue. I think one of the biggest issues is with the world being as large as it is, a lot of people don't know what's out there and what there is available. I mean, it's an intimidatingly large MMO world, and there's a lot of cool stuff out there, but if you don't know about it, you can't go and find it. So I think a big part of the problem is the presentation. It's letting people know that there's awesome content out there to do. Like we've talked about, all the great old dungeons and raids, stuff like Karazhan, for example, which we recently reviewed, that a lot of newer players don't know about. They could go there and see some really interesting things and have a lot of fun, but they don't know it exists. And I think a big part of it is like Blizzard finding a way to let people know that this content exists. We've already started to have that with what is it called, the adventure guide or something like that, that recommends places for you to go.
Yeah,
That's
it
part
gives you
of
an
it.
idea of what
But
you should or could be
know,
doing at that point in time.
yeah, if they eventually take the adventure guide, maybe turn it up to 11, maybe add some kind of legacy content features to it, like, you don't have the achievement for this dungeon or raid, you might want to go try it out and see what's there. I think that would be a good way to sort of help bridge the gap between old players and new players and help new players understand what content is out there for them to play, rather than feeling this is this huge world and they don't really know what's in it and they're not rewarded for exploring it, so there's no point in checking it out.
And I think that's something that we've commented in the past about pretty much everything, of that Warcraft, you feel like the rewards for so many things in Warcraft are so uninspiring and just so like, okay, thanks, I guess, goodbye. I mean, even raiding now to a point, well, at least right now, because of how much gear we've gotten with garrisons, the raid gear means nothing, so I have no reason to go do the raid. And you can look at that in every single way. And because you can't beat Warcraft, really, and you're in a way very disconnected from the story, I feel like that kind of makes... Because, like, with RPGs, like, Final Fantasy games or Xenosaga or, Fire Emblem or Disgaea or, whatever RPG that you want to be playing, there is a satisfaction in completing the game and completing the story. It's kind of like finishing a show, whether it's Game of Thrones or, Yu Yu Hakusho or not really CSI, but in any show that has an overarching story, that story comes to a close. Whereas with Warcraft, we never get that, because as soon as, the expansion story comes to a close, we already know the story isn't over and it's going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, it's just the problem with MMO storytelling, is that the story has to continue or the game will have to stop.
I disagree. And I'll tell you why. And again, disclosure, Warcraft, I love this game, but it is not my favorite MMO that I have ever played, ever. My favorite MMO of ever in the past that I've ever played is the first Guild Wars. And I told you guys previously about how Guild Wars, they had multiple games. They had Guild Wars, they had Guild Wars Factions, they had Guild Wars Nightfall. And you could buy any one of these, and you could play the game with whatever classes were allowed from that, I guess we'll call it edition. And that, like, with Guild Wars Nightfall, they had their own continent, their own story, their own everything, and that did end. And then if you wanted to, your character could, like, take a boat and go to the continent that Guild Wars Factions was on, and that had the same level of, here's this new story, this new everything, this is the new thing that's happening, and boom, done, it's over. And there was, besides just a couple NPCs, there was no connection between the two. There was no like, oh man, the big bad guy got away from the first continent, now you got to go stop him in the second one. They were all just very, very isolated and separated, so you always did get that sense of satisfaction and accomplishment from completing them.
Yeah, maybe the Super MMO of the future will incorporate those kind of things and be truly awesome.
Well, now I have a new question. The Super MMO of the future. I'm just gonna play this. The Super MMO of the future. What is that? Like, what in essence would that be? Like, if there comes a day in the age where we get an MMO that is so miraculous that it is the grandiose, massive multiplayer role-playing game to end all other massive multiplayer role-playing games, to the point where WoW goes down and Guild Wars 2 goes down and Final Fantasy 14 goes down because we have this. What would that possibly be?
Outside.
Life, yes. No, life is not as awesome as, well, life is awesome in its own ways.
As Florian will hopefully agree with me, it's not about the franchise, it's about the design of the game itself. Given the currently rising trends in social media, I'm going to say that the next really big MMO to end all MMOs is going to be based on My Little Pony.
Woo! I'm down for this. Go ahead.
I'm going to say such a thing can't exist anymore. I mean, WoW was the first huge MMO, but that was because it was the first to get really big and make the genre a popular thing. I think now, like, MMOs are more starting to fragment into different flavors of MMO, if you will, and different people play different MMOs because it's something personal to their liking. I don't think there's going to be another one big MMO that almost everyone plays. Rather, it's going to be, oh, I like pretending to be a cowboy in space, therefore I will play WildStar. I like WoW, therefore I will play WoW. I like Star Wars, so I will play the Old Republic. It's going to become that kind of thing where it's you choose your MMO based on what you like, as opposed to there just being one or two huge,
Yeah.
monstrously gigantic MMOs.
Is this what you and I were talking about last week, Michael? The MMOs out there on the market are specializing, and if you like PvP, you're going to go for this PvP one. If you like role playing, you're going to go for that role playing one, etc.
Kinda. I mean, every MMO has its own flavor that attracts people one way or the other. I know people that love WildStar. I tried WildStar. I didn't like it. It's your own preference. Something, though, that I want to ask you guys in kind of a concurrence with that idea. Are we starting to slowly kind of move away from the age of MMOs? I mean, because for a few years there, MMOs were just like the only thing that anyone talked about ever. And I mean, kind of compared to like the movie genre, like there for a while, horror movies were real big, or zombie movies, and like right now we're kind of in the late years of the comic book superhero movie. I mean, we're closing out on the Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Avengers. All of those movie series are about to be over, and that and in alongside that, the kind of age of superhero movies is coming to closing out and calming down a little bit. Because you go through like action movies and superhero movies, which aren't the same. Suspense, thrillers, comedy, romantic comedy, etc. I mean, there's always some thrown in there, but there's always like the flavor of the decade, if you will, or the flavor of the half decade. Are we starting to move now away from the age of MMOs and moving into something else?
Well, we really dodged a bullet because we almost moved into the age of the Facebook game. I think those are losing popularity.
Well, kinda. Facebook games, in a way, were the first stepping stone into mobile gaming. A whole bunch of games that you download on your cell phone are the same as what you would have played on Facebook, and some of them are interchangeable. The games that are on your phone are the same exact game that's on Facebook, and vice versa. And in one of the largest gaming locales in the world, Japan, the leading type of gaming right now is mobile gaming. What you can play on your, and I don't mean handheld gaming. I don't mean PSP Vitas or 3DSs. I literally mean mobile, like on your cell phone. That is the biggest thing in Japan right now. And that's part of why Nintendo now is opening its doors to mobile gaming, because of just how huge mobile gaming is in Japan. So while we may have dodged Facebook games, that design of video game, we did not dodge at all. It's here. I mean, I have 3 mobile games on my phone alone that I play fairly consistently.
Yeah, not to mention a new, yeah, like Nintendo, I guess you just mentioned one of their new mobile games developing is Pokemon Go.
Yep.
So that'll be something to look at. I really like desktop gaming, particularly because I don't know. I don't know why. Just
well,
it's
everyone
what I
has their thing
grew
that
up
they're
with.
like. I mean,
Yeah.
I personally prefer to play anything and everything that I possibly can on my computer. But I mean, I have a PlayStation 3 in the other room. Come Black Friday, we will probably be getting a PlayStation 4 or maybe a Wii U. We'll see. And I have an iPhone 6, which is one of the more top end-esque phones, and I play games on that. So I mean, it's not. I mean, there are the people that are like PC Master Race, or I only play my Xbone, or whatever. Everyone is happy to wave their flag around that's covered in their own, anyway. But as a whole, there is a demographic of gaming that does exist. I mean, around the age like 10 years ago, oh well, maybe it was more, like 15 years ago, God, when like the Nintendo 64 and the PlayStation 1 and stuff were out, that was, well, kind of like Nintendo's heyday, because we had things like Super Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time and stuff like that, and those games that design of game kind of just blew up. And then once we moved into like Xbox and PlayStation 2, that really kind of gave way into the age of first-person shooters with things like Call of Duty Modern Warfare and the like, and Battlefield. And while those games still exist and that still is a market, that is not the market right now. I mean, those games still are made, they still sell. I mean, it's like EA makes a Madden game every year and all the sports nerds buy that. And, power to them, whatever. You like your game, I like mine. But it falls into that same area. But for a while there, the big thing was first-person shooters for consoles. I mean, it was all about Call of Duty. It was all about Battlefield. Medal of Honor tried to get in there. And so, but that has waned away now. Those are just kind of, they've fallen into the consistency of gaming, of this is just a genre. It's, it's popular, it sells well, but it's not the genre. I mean, and right after that, we kind of hit, like, difficult games like Dark Souls and Bloodborne kind of tried to get in there a little bit, but those games are too difficult really for anyone to actually enjoy, besides the people who, well, obviously enjoy them, but as a masses, they are generally frowned upon. And so MMO obviously exists primarily on the PC, and are we hitting a point now? I'll reiterate the question. Are we hitting a point now where MMOs are falling off and we'll start to see the rise of something else?
I'll speak real quick. I think it's a genre that's here to stay, and there's always going to be somebody who likes the MMO RPG world. I don't think it's going to be marginalized. I don't think it's going to be incorporated into another version, another genre, to the point where it loses its identity. I think it will always be on the scene, because we have the internet. We're a more globally connected civilization than ever before. So I think.
Well, I don't mean it'll die.
Got staying power.
I don't mean it'll die. I mean it already in some ways seems to have lost the face of the media. I mean, you don't really hear, even on gaming sites, you don't, besides, when something new happens, like with the Destiny expansion and the reworking of that entire game, that was a little bit of a bigger deal. But it, like, I mean, with WoW numbers going down and with Blizzard not being concerned about WoW numbers, if it comes to a point where just all MMOs are just kind of, background games where the people who love them, but they just kind of exist on their own. To where Warcraft has 1-2 million players, Final Fantasy has 1-2 million players, WildStar has 1 million players, Destiny has 1-2 million players, and everyone's kind of on that even playing field to where there's not this huge and I think it's already happening with what we were talking about of the way MMO players are starting to disperse into their directions that they want to go, whether it's Guild Wars, Final Fantasy, Destiny, etc. That the competition for MMOs is dying out. So instead of it being this face of like this conflict, it's just going to be just a background effect, kind of like how I was talking about with first-person shooters, Call of Duty, and Battlefield. Have we hit this point already? Florian, your turn.
I think MMOs are here to stay too. I don't think they're going to go anywhere simply because people like playing with other people. And, more people is generally better than less people. I don't see any reason why massively multiplayer would disappear. I will say, however, that it's becoming more where how should I put it? The mechanics of the genre are starting to be absorbed into other genres, much like the RPG mechanics have become a thing that are in almost every game genre now. Even shooters, for example, you've got things like Destiny, which is a pretty standard Halo-esque shooter, but they put a bunch of MMO mechanics in it. Why? Because MMO is the thing now. That's what everybody wants. So yeah, I think MMOs in their current in some form are going to stay around for a long time, if not forever. But that we're going to see a lot more of the same types of mechanics get into other games to the point where MMOs won't be truly unique anymore. They'll just be, one of many kids on the block doing the similar thing.
Okay. All right. Anyone have anything else that they would like to add before we go ahead and work on getting out of here?
I think we said about it all.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Again, if you would like to send us questions, suggestions, and or feedback, you can find us on the interwebs at www.thecastbar.com. Leave us a voicemail at 508-738-2278. Find us on Twitter I'll read you the phone number again, at Castbar Podcast, or we have our email at thecastbar@gmail.com. Find all of our shows, if you don't like where you're listening to it now, on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, or our website. I have to give some credit, and that is to the gentleman that does our bumper music, and his name is Kevin McLeod at Incomtech.com. I had something else that I wanted to say here. It's gone. Oh, if you would like to help the show, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. That increases our visibility to get us new listeners and to make us even larger, and we appreciate it a lot, as is the best word that I can think of. If you would like to find me, you can find me on pretty much all forms of social media under the handle Schwan Michael. That is SchWahnMichael. You can find me on Google Hangouts. You can find me on Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter. Yes, just search and I'm probably there. Evan, what about you?
You can hit me up via the Castbar@gmail.com, of course, or if you'd like to follow me on Twitter, you can find me at EDCWow.
And Florian.
Woof.
Woof. Yes, woof indeed.
You probably will continue to not find me, but I do encourage you to email us at the Castbar and, ask us questions. Tell us about the game. Tell us about yourself. Whatever.
That's
More
not
mail is
true.
always
Florian's
better.
in
I don't
Hawaii.
care what it
It's
is.
not that hard to find people in Hawaii. It's not like it's that big of a place.
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
Anyway, moving along. We are going to get out of here. Thank you, everybody. Thank you again to Evan and Florian for being here. Evan, I'm glad you're feeling well. Florian, I'm glad you're getting settled in. And we will be back next week.
Bye, guys.
You are about to